Welcome to another community edition of This Week in Astro. It is the week ending the 24th of April. Yeah, there's been an atmosphere of fervent activity. You could tell that everyone's busy getting work done, judging by the amount of support requests and people asking for help and giving support to each other. It has been fantastic, and especially to those in the support gang. Fantastic work over the past week, guys. Without yous, a lot of people will still be stuck, so special thank you to you guys for the effort that you've been putting in the Discord community. Right, now as always, we start off this week with taking a look over the Astro repo, and you will always find this on github.com/withastro, and here you'll be able to take a look over all the repos. Astro is an open source project, and it really works off the back of, with the support of everyone else involved into the project. First up, we're going to be taking a look over Astro's release log. There was no release of beta 0.13 or beta 13, the cursed release. I reckon Astro are the kind of people that won't name a boat the Titanic, just to be on the safe grounds. But nonetheless, we started the week off with a release of beta 14, which came with fixes towards the JSX side of Astro's syntax, especially within the markdown files, and also removing the legacy option from the build setup. In version 15, where we've seen work by both Nate and Matt, where Nate provided general improvements to the hot module reloading, also fixes towards lit working in SSR. The next release was the Create Astro update. Now, Create Astro, for those who don't know, is the CLI wizard that powers the actual installations when you hit npx in Astro. What you get is a small little CLI tool, and that is what we call Create Astro. For instance, now it prompts you to choose a directory in which to install to. Version 16 came, basically making general improvements for statically generating assets and scripts. We finished a week on beta 17, the release of beta 17, which comes with a number of fixes to the actual Astro compiler. Now, the Astro compiler was originally forked from the Svelte compiler in Astro's early days, and around summer of last year, Nate learnt Go and created the Astro's very own compiler. So we have our own native compiler written in Go, and as a result, the work that's been going into the compiler has been tight, has been tough, and yeah, sometimes it feels that Nate is doing it by himself, and I like to just make a special shout out that this particular update that was made to the compiler, and by all means the changelog, the link to the changelog would be there, and we are going to go over the changelog just briefly as well, just to give you some information of what came in the new compiler. But here we've seen an outside contributor coming in, stepping into the compiler and actually helping and alleviating some of the pressure from Nate. So I'd like to make a special thank you to William, who came in and helped Nate out with the compiler. And talking about the changes to the compiler, this is a snapshot of the release log that came. Thank you very much, William and Nate, and for your awesome work on the compiler. Really do appreciate it, guys. Right, now we're into the section of discussing the render improvements and the integration improvements that are coming from the official Astro packages. First off, I would like to start off with the React renderer. Now, the React renderer has probably got the most significant news around it. Astro supports React 18. Now, that Astro add React would also allow you to choose your peer dependency, so you could choose which version of React you wish to use, version 16, 17 or 18. Now, with version 18, we have a lot of the good, a lot of React goodies coming along, such as React Lazy loading, suspense, and also full SSR support is now, with hydration, is now available for all React components. So again, thank you, Matt, for your work on that. Next up is Preact. Now, in the same token, you can't talk about React without Preact, and Nate took the time to help update a lot of the internals with the Preact integration. I did see that Jason Miller from the actual Preact core stepped in to help Nate through Twitter, which was lovely to see. So again, thank you very much guys for that. Lit is also being improved. Like we've seen with the release of version 17, there was Lit SSR improvements, and this came with the Lit integration. So those who are using Lit as their UI frameworks, creating web components using Lit, by all means, do upgrade your Lit integration, just so you could get the benefits of the SSR improvements. Next up, we have information about Solid. Now, a special shout out to who is turning out to be the fantastic hippo in the community. We appreciate it because off the back of it, the hydration part of a Solid, especially with the SSR, has been greatly improved. So do check out Solid with Astro guys if you haven't. It's as simple as going to Astro add Solid. Next up, we have information about Tailwind, everyone's Marmite CSS utility framework. Thank you, Tony, for helping to provide more stability with the Tailwind integration. Next up is Deno. The Deno integration with Astro is pretty solid, so thank you very much, Matt. Next up, we have Vercel announcements as well. So there's been additional improvements made to the Vercel integration. Vercel is a sponsor of the Astro open source project, and thank you, Juan, for making these fixes for us. Also, on the focus of Juan, he's been a wee bit busy. He's helped to improve the types when it came to the Markdown component as well. So there's additional types for the Markdown header, the metadata, and the content that are coming out from the actual Markdown files. Fantastic, dude. We all appreciate that, since Markdown is heavily integrated into the Astro user experience. I want to take a wee bit of time to talk about the work that Erica's now been doing in terms of the Astro language tools. These improvements have came in, especially very recently, have made our developer experience, our ability to code, that much faster and that much better. A couple of days ago, we seen the language server being upgraded to version 0.15. Now, this came with some, she's, quaintly called it minor changes, but in my opinion, these are significant changes, really powerful ones. We've got better support for completions, both inside JSX expressions and outside. We see better support for auto completions, auto imports. We see, miscellaneous issues being fixed as well, like missing descriptions. We've now got code highlight, IntelliSense is like literally 1,000 times better. Is just a little demonstration of Erica doing the auto importing now. I really do enjoy this feature, especially since this came in. We're just typing in, bring in my Astro component, and it's imported it directly into the Astro component front matter. Again, thank you, Erica. We've also seen another community contributor come up and actually help extend the language tools onto other IDEs and text-based editors, and here we're seeing it in the NeoVim or the Vim-based text editor. But yeah, you can now code your Astro components and your Astro projects directly within NeoVim. So yeah, thank you very much, guys, to put NeoVim together and get that out for us. News from our sponsors is that Netlify are now using edge functions based on Deno deploy. And by Netlify moving their edge functions to Deno deploy, it means that the startup times are a lot lower. By all means, do take a look over this blog post just to get more information about the relationship and how it will work with your workflow. Also about this particular announcement was a blog post by Netlify themselves, which was put out, and again, this will be linked to you in the descriptions below, but again, do check out this blog post. More information about these changes never hurt anybody, especially when it comes to help conceptualizing what these changes mean to you and your projects. So yeah, this is what This Week in Astro is all about, is to help serve you with these information. So this particular blog post will help you give you that relationship, that understanding, so how your Jamstack might change, and if it was to change, if you were to deploy to the edge, what you're going to experience and what is going to be provided for you. And then this brings up to the last bit of the Astro news cycle, where we're talking about our RFCs. And so the core team were all week, their heads down, especially working out and smoothing out the journey towards the version 1 launch. And we might be seeing a couple more of these unscheduled discontinuations of the RFC cycle, just again because the developers themselves and the core team are heads down working on Astro, because it might be an hour but there is a bit of work that goes in before and after them as well. So yeah, this is why this particular week's RFC wasn't on the wasn't in the Discord channels as scheduled. But nonetheless, there is plenty of active discussions happening within the RFC channels themselves. You can find out more about the discussions if you go onto the RFC with Astro/RFCs, and underneath the discussions tab up at the top here, you can go in there and you'll be able to keep up to date and current. What we've got is discussions surrounding Astro's SSR middleware that was proposed by Pascal, or Klaxon as we know him in the community, and there's also discussions proposed by a number of community members around simplifying the markdown layout. So we have a universal markdown layout for markdown files, and opting into then choosing if any other specialized pages should receive a specialized layout. There's also a funny little discussion started up by Pranor about script tags inside front matter, which is a proposed change to the syntax of Astro. So if you want to get on board and discuss that, by all means, this is a vibrant place for you to get involved in. Just to let you know, there will be an RFC call this week on Tuesday in the Discord channel at 7 PM GMT for those who can make it. Each week the agenda calls are posted in the discussions as well, so if you do follow the discussions channel, you will be kept up to date with the agendas for this week's RFC. Due to the launch cycle now that the team is in, you might see some intermittency or a break in the communication or a slowdown in what you would expect in terms of like the speed of adoption with your particular RFC. Come post one, these issues that are on the docket will be addressed. They're not going to be sitting there high and dry, left for the cows to dry. They will be addressed, guys. Don't lose hope, don't lose faith. It's just that the run into June the 8th is going to be pretty hard for most people. So yeah, patience would be greatly appreciated, guys. Thank you very much. What's new on the Astro Showcase channel? Scott Kellums. Now, Scott Kellum is the CEO and founder of Typetura, which is a futuristic typography system that just drops into your projects and it basically provides you with fluid typography. Scott Kellum is a very artistic guy, great guy to speak to, great guy to know, and by all means do check out his site. Next up we have a community member, Evan. Wherever you're, Evan, we hope you're doing well. But nonetheless, Evan's simplistic, beautiful, and he's just creative. So by all means do take a look over Evan's blog, especially if you want to find out how he made this little ASCII animation art on his homepage. It's really nice. Next up, now this is Thomas. He is a management student down in London School of Economics, studying data analytics, business management and finance, right? You're probably thinking, what's that got to do with Astro and the price of milk? Well, to be honest, this just demonstrates that Astro is that ubiquitous and that easy for developers and people outside the development community to get onto and build what their projects, their ideas, and be able to express themselves easily on the web. That Thomas, this is a fantastic job of just that use case alone. He's got a couple of posts. This supply chain in 5 minutes article actually explains quite a lot from Evergreen to the current supply chain crisis that we're facing post-COVID. Next up we have Eric Olsen. What can I say? He's a designer, he's a photographer, and yeah, guys, just take a look. If you like cars, this is a great site to go over and ogle over some really lovely cars. Look at his site, he's done a fantastic job on it. This is Thomas. He works over at Algero, and yeah, he's put out a lot of tweets. I follow him on Twitter, and his tweets are really insightful. Again, like his projects, do dig into it. Like, for instance, here's a command line tool that uses REST APIs from your command line. Again, something really great to learn. Simplistic, beautiful, and yeah, Well done, Thomas. Thank you. And thanks for being in amongst the community and helping out when you can. Next up we have Stefan Solka. He is the one that's actually helped write the Astro command. Now, for those who don't know, this Astro command allows you to bring in third-party programs such as Python scripts. I've even seen one guy try C++, right, and it kind of worked, you know. And Astro command has been leveraged to help provide the likes of Astro Pandoc and Astro Latex. Oh, what's this? Astro ZDog. Oh wait, I've played with this. This is a 3D animation library that was created that works well with Astro, surprisingly well with Astro, and I would highly recommend for those who are taking a look at 3D animations in Astro to take a look over at Astro ZDog as well. Another library that I totally forgot. Sorry, pardon me, Stephen. Right, do take a look over his work. Right, Stephen.solka.dev. Thank you very much for your packages that you put out for the community, dude. They're top class. Next up we have Florian Shushini, right, who put out his own personal portfolio page. Again, fantastic. This is a great resume. Built on Astro. So yeah, très bien, fantastique, merci beaucoup. And then we have Vercel. This is just a lovely site. A well-crafted, well-designed site. And yeah, I spent too long on this site, so yeah, my apologies, but I did get taken back by a lot of the, it's like just even the design skills that he's applied to, you know, the hierarchy, the contrast, the accessibility and the colours. I mean, the list goes on, but he ticks every single one of them. Next up is corset.dev. Now Corset is a new framework, right, created by our very own Matthew. Corset was basically a way of bringing reactive user interfaces without bringing the SPA with you, and this uses CSS and HTML. I repeat, CSS like syntax and HTML, and it binds to the JavaScript in the background. You don't need to do it, legit. This is a component written with Corset on your left hand side, and this is what it would do on the right hand side in the JavaScript land. We only care what happens on the left, and it's lovely. It's lovely, guys. By all means, do play with Corset. It will blow your frickin' socks off. Next up, we'll be looking. We're going to be taking a quick look over some of the new integrations that have came on. Because there's a hackathon going on, I suspect that a lot of integrations that would normally be, you know, coming out at a gradual pace have kind of been put under a veil of secrecy. But nonetheless, there has been some very brave individuals who put out their own integrations nonetheless. The first one being is Pascal. We've mentioned him in the last week's episode, but we've actually finished on his blog post talking about his hackathon project and his journey through the hackathon and his experience with it. He's not stopped since his submission, but nonetheless he's came out one step further and delivered a custom renderer for making custom web elements in SSR. And so surprisingly, what Pascal managed to do was use a combination of Linky DOM and Astro to shim a lot of the stuff that Lit didn't do. And albeit Lit's SSR has already been improved, you know, by Astro Core, this is a contribution and not an attempt, an actual successful implementation of creating a renderer function that works with Astro, both statically and in the SSR land. Do check it out, guys. If you do build web components, do give this particular integration a wee shout in your next project, or even your next test project. Pascal's spent a fair bit of time, and his tweets over the last week has been honestly really insightful. Do follow him on Twitter as well if you guys can. This is a wee demo of what we were just talking about. So what you have to see here, right, server-side rendered web components done on the fly, as we've seen. Alright guys, it's nothing, we're just clicking between buttons, but these are two individual components that are being rendered on the server on each time we click it. Blows your mind. It really does blow your mind. Next up we have Ernesto, read-only child in the community, has came in and provided a lovely integration for IXMage, which is a CDN that allows you to basically pop your images on and then optimizes them on their CDN for you. And then what you do using, normally you would have to fetch these images back or into your Astro projects. Read-only child has helped abstract that entire process and drop it into an IX Mage component, and this is a simple pull from npm and just use it as a simple element in your project, and job done. You'll get different variations, etc. So do by all means check it out, right? So next up we have a fantastic new integration that's been added to Astro. This is Astro Critters, an integration that's built off the Critter CSS, which is a critical CSS library that lazy loads and basically provides all the CSS that normally sits above the fold. This inlines it, and it's fantastic. You could add this to your Astro project using that Astro add command. So it's Astro add Astro -critters, and you'll be able to bring that into your actual project itself. I should have really had that one open, but now it's there. We could end on that, right? And I'd like to give a special shout out to Nicola for putting this one together for us, guys. Thank you very much, buddy. On the next section of This Week in Astro, well, really one new theme that's made it to the page, and this is the Daisy blog. Daisy blog, right, is a very simple, minimalistic theme, built for Astro. Lovely typography, lovely white spacing, simple. The whole point of these themes is that they're very simple for you to just spin up and get going, and all you need to do is just drop the content in and you're away. Very lovely blog theme. Yeah, so Daisy blog was built and provided to us by Poya Sadigi. Thank you very much, dude. Really appreciate it. Now we're on to the community news in This Week in Astro. Astro and Solid, the perfect duo. Changed my mind. Astros and Solids, the combination, the synergy that these two projects have with each other is insane. They're very much aligned in a lot of the way that they see the web and push the web. Using Solid is an actual pleasurable experience, especially within Astro. You got to read this entire thread, and yeah, this thread goes from one direction to another. And I would just want to say is that this is the benefit of Astro, is that when you're normally having these discussions within UI frameworks, within what I describe them to be cathedrals, you're normally just shouting off the walls and it's an echo chamber. Astro is more your open source, open society marketplace that sits outside all these cathedrals in the market square. And this is where, you know, developers could come and sit, you know, promote their wares, discuss, have communications, chats, innovate, communicate, collaborate. And yeah, and we're seeing that this thread itself, right, epitomizes a lot of the bizarre like qualities that Astro has. This is a post that Matthew put out, writing JavaScript views the hard way. Very interesting. Follow it through, dig out your own code editor and follow it through. You will learn so much just off this one page itself. Next up is our very own Ben Holmes, who from Slinkity fame, now part of Astro Core, live streams every Thursday on Twitch. This first video, of where you're just basically getting to know Ben, getting to know the project, him starting out, getting comfortable, it is very endearing. Next up, we have something that I've been waiting to showcase for a wee while now, is a site by Bryce Ray. He was a Hugoer, so he has experience in the static site realm, was working with the Hugo static site generator. But this is an Astro site that has over 205 pages. What I would like to say is that Bryce, whenever he's came into the Astro support group, the support community has got around him and has helped him to provide him with the solutions that he needs. And this is just one example of how those who come into the community to look for support get the support and then end up delivering. You know, it's like the friction that they might experience within their actual coding environment. You're not alone. You do have help, and with that help we will get you to where you want to go. Next up is we ought to have a section, a Rodney section, I'm thinking, because he is a regular now in This Week in Astro. Here we've got Rodney discussing JavaScript and Sass styling together and how you use that within your Astro setup. By all means, do check out this particular post as well. Thank you very much, Rodney. Next up, we have another blog post by Pascal Claxon. We've already discussed him quite a bit in this episode, and this particular post, now in the integrations, we were discussing the custom elements server-side rendering addition that has been added to there, and this is basically his post. And talk about other developers, we've already mentioned him again, but this is Vantil's own blog post about his migration from Next.js to Astro. Next.js and Astro, a lot of people come on into Astro and say, what's the difference? You know, what's the comparisons? Next versus Astro, what is it? Fight! And it's not the case. If you've heard or seen any of Fred over the last couple of weeks when he was doing the rounds, you would also hear him taking the tone that it's not a case of, you know, a dichotomy or it's binary, it's one or the other. It is more a case that they are two different tools that occupy very separate ends of the web development spectrum. And for sure, Next.js is a great tool, especially when it comes to making dynamic interactive applications, whereas Astro is a fantastic tool for making statically generated content and server-side rendered pages. Notice the distinction between app and pages is back. We have that level of distinction now. Life is not a single page application. Life is multi-pages. Is multi-pages with single pages. Life is all about sharing. It's different now. And Vantil gets it. By all means do read this article, guys. By all means do check it out. Next up, we have a very technical genius. Honestly, for folk who are wanting to learn how to make components and do all sorts of cool, tricky stuff in Astro, take a read over David Warrington's post here. David basically implemented a method to generate SVGs as components in Astro. Now, Astro does HTML, right? SVGs is XHTML syntax, you know, it's a bit different. It is HTML, but it's a bit different. And what David done was basically leverage what Astro gave him on the table in terms of the static rendering, in terms of his components, what it puts out, the build pipeline. There is a number of steps when it comes to creating components that one has to kind of consider when it comes to Astro. So by all means, if you haven't taken the time and you are building components, especially those in the hackathon, take a read over this, guys. You will learn a couple of things. Next up, I want to make a huge shout out and a call to action to the internationalization gang within Astro. Well, the Astro universe is multilingual, and it is not just spoken in English. In order for us to help speak as many different languages, we need to get the help from you guys. So if English isn't your mother tongue, fantastic. If you want to get involved in open source, fantastic. Astro is a great first time project for new developers to get involved in. You'll learn the open source method, you'll learn how to contribute, how to make the PRs and all that stuff. Translating documentation is as valuable as making code contributions. And so this is what I like to basically say is a big call to action for those who want to get involved. Sarah and Chris are probably the leads on this. Now Chris has came up with a complete process, head to toe, explaining on how to provide translations and how to keep up to date with them, what are expected from Astro's side, and how new contributors can get involved and help in this project as well. The more help that we can get on this, the better that we can serve other developers in other countries around the world. Now, on the last note of this week in Astro is again a call to action that there is an Astro Hackathon. It ends on the 8th of May, so there's 2 weeks left. By all means, do check out, there's dedicated channels within the Astro community. There's a hackathon channel, there's a hackathon submissions channel. Get your submissions in, guys. The categories that they're looking for is the best integration with Astro, the best theme, and the best project built using server-side rendering. Now, there are your 3 submissions. There is prize money to be won, loot to be took. Is that I wish you all the best of luck when it comes to your projects, and the best of luck when it comes to your general work as well. Peace and love, guys. Peace and love. Wish you all the best for your week ahead. Thank you very much.